My name is Suzanne Pachetti Johnson. I am the program manager for Avenues to Wellness, and we are a program of the Frank R. Howard Foundation. So I always like to give thanks to the foundation for making the speaker series possible. I am very happy to introduce our guest speaker tonight, Mary Hatfield.
Hello.
3 years ago, her husband was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and she's here tonight to tell her very personal and inspiring story. So please help me welcome Mary.
Thank you. Well, it's great to be here tonight, and I want to thank Suzanne for bringing me on board and helping me get going here, and I really appreciate the chance to talk with you. I also want to give a big round of applause, quietly, silently, to the medical doctors here, the primary physicians and the medical care in Willits. I have to tell you, and you'll hear more about it as I go through my story, about the fabulous Bechtel Creek Clinic and the other health providers in Willits. They've been a very big, important part of the story. And so I wouldn't be here tonight probably without their help, especially Dr. Matheson. So I wanted to make sure that I acknowledged him and the other people in Willits that have been great health providers for us. I also wanted to say that I know you came here for a talk, but you're not going to get that. Instead, we're going to have a conversation. Because I know many of you, and I will know all of you before the evening's over for sure. It is going to be a personal story. I'm not an expert in Parkinson's, or really in anything exactly. But I do have a story, and so that's what I'm going to share with you tonight. And I'm going to ask you for some involvement as we go. So we're going to be a little bit interactive, if that's okay for you. So here we go. So I used to be Mary on time, and now I'm Mary always late. If you know anybody that has Parkinson's or any kind of neurological degenerative disease like Parkinson's, you might know that things tend to slow down a little bit. And it takes much longer to get out the door or to get in the car or to do other things like that. Any activity of life, as they call it. So that's really changed me and how I operate in the world. I'm kind of a Speedy Gonzales, so I have to find ways that I can slow myself down so that I can be a good partner to my husband. Now, my husband's name is, I'm Mary Hatfield, and my husband's name is Jim Hatfield. And Jim is 77 years old, and I'm 77 years old. So I'm married to Jim Hatfield, but I feel like there's another Jim in my life, and his name is Jim Parkinson. Jim Parkinson formulated his diagnosis of the disease around 1870, and he's come to live with me to stay. He's not very nice, this Jim Parkinson guy. What he does, he's a thief and he's a liar. What he steals is everything: sleep, affection, organization. Name something. Strength. Name something. Joy. Yes.
Agility.
Sorry?
Agility.
Able to move around in the world. All the things that we take for granted, Jim Parkinson's takes away. And sex. I had to look at my notes for that one. It's been so long. But he's also a liar, because what Jim Parkinson does is he changes things around so that there's distortions in thinking, and there's deceit in how things are going. There's denial about what's going on in the household. And so the example that I can remember reading is a woman who awoke in the middle of the night to her husband on a ladder, not good, trying to change a light bulb. And she confronted him about it, and he said, "I didn't do that. It's that kind of thing. It's like not really getting the full picture or able to accept the full picture. And it's ongoing. So, it's one thing when you have a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, and you need to be patient, you need to give more time to do things, to get ready to go places, You have things set out, the plan, you have everything working, and the little one comes and you say, okay, Tommy, we're going to go somewhere. Well, that's all fine and good, but Tommy eventually grows up and can do that for himself. People with Parkinson's get worse. They get worse. And so they're able to do less and less over time. So it's a different sort of a mindset when you're in that stage where you have to be really, really conscious of time and plan everything out and make sure everything is going to work smoothly. So it's different. So I'm kind of curious to ask you what you already know or don't know about what I'm going to be talking about, so I can tailor what I'm going to say to what you already understand. So who knows what Parkinson's is? Okay. Who knows what causes it? Okay. Who knows what the symptoms are? Some of them. Who knows how you get diagnosed for it? People? Who knows what the treatments are? Who knows what works when treatments don't? Or what else works with treatments? Who knows about support groups? Okay, we're going to be talking about that more. And who knows if there's a neurologist in Mendocino County? Santa Rosa. Uh-huh. Okay. And who knows what comes next after the stages of Parkinson's? All of us. Yeah. So it seems kind of gloomy here, but there's actually a lot to be thankful for. And I'm going to share that along with some other things tonight. So talking about what is Parkinson's in the first place, well, Dr. Matheson at the Bechtel Creek Clinic, he said to me, when he suspected that my husband might have Parkinson's, and from his point of view, he would be ready to diagnose it, but he's not a neurologist. But he said to me, Parkinson's is a brain disease that gets worse over time, and there's no cure. Great. But he comforted me. He said, you don't die from Parkinson's, you die with Parkinson's. And so what he meant by that is the most common cause of death for people with Parkinson's are falls and pneumonia. So those are the kinds of things that we're looking out for all the time. Because falls might land you in the hospital, might break a hip, might expose you to sepsis in the hospital or other infections, because your body's already more vulnerable with Parkinson's in the first place. And then with pneumonia, the autonomic functions of your body don't work as well when you have Parkinson's. And sometimes they don't work at all. By autonomic, I mean the ones that you're not aware of, that happen without your thinking, like breathing and looking and seeing. Well, an autonomic function that's really important is swallowing. And for Parkinson's folks, even the muscles in the throat can backfire or not work very well. And so pieces of food can get routed to the wrong place and wind up in the lungs. And that causes aspiration pneumonia. And okay, well, you can deal with pneumonia. We've got antibiotics. But with Parkinson's folks that are weakened from the disease already, that can be really bad news. Pneumonia can be hard to treat people like that. So that's what he told me, Dr. Matheson did. And then he referred me and my husband, Jim, to Dr. Duncan, who's a neurologist in Santa Rosa with Sutter. And Dr. Duncan said, in order to describe what Parkinson's is, he said, there's a transmitter in your brain. It's called dopamine. And the dopamine gets manufactured in a place called substantia nigra. It's a place in the back of your brain that actually manufactures the dopamine. And the dopamine starts dying off as the substantia nigra starts dying off, so you're losing brain cells. So Dr. Duncan said, by the time a person actually gets diagnosed with Parkinson's, they've lost, I'm going to check my notes here, they've lost 50 to 70% of their brain cells. So that's the problem with Parkinson's, is the brain cell loss. That's what causes the body to malfunction. Dr. Duncan, he diagnosed my husband 3 years ago with idiopathic Parkinson's. What idiopathic means is they didn't know what caused it. It's just the standard general all-purpose Parkinson's. You're not special. You just get the regular version. Just the old kind of Parkinson's. That's what you've got. And so he gave my husband the standard medication treatment called carbidopa-levodopa, and that is something that helps your dopamine work better. And anybody that's had Parkinson's or knows someone that's had Parkinson's knows that there's something called on and off time, where when the medicine is working, then people are much better able to function. And when it's not working, they feel terrible, and their symptoms are worse. Well, in my husband's case, after he saw Dr. Duncan for 6 months and went twice to see him in Santa Rosa, Dr. Duncan figured out that my husband wasn't responding to that medicine. It didn't work for him. He never had on or off time. He just had off time. And the medication just made him sick. Like he'd have to go to bed. He'd be nauseous all the time. And it wasn't working. So he referred him to UCSF. And that's what the referral said, that he was clinically underserved by the medication available at the time. And we're going to get to other treatments later on this evening, but at that moment in time, 3 years ago, that's what he said. So we UCS contacted us, and they talked with my husband about his symptoms, and they had him do 3 or 4 90-minute Zoom consultations. So he had to sit in front of the laptop with going like this, trying to show how many times in a second he can touch his finger to his thumb, or touch his nose, or other kinds of motions, walk up and down the hallway, turn around, walk up and down the hallway, walk up and down the hallway. And so he went through like 3 different 90-minute consultations, I guess you would say, with these doctors from UCSF. And finally they said, well, Mr. Hatfield, we recommend deep brain stimulation surgery for you. And my husband said, say that again? So it's called deep brain stimulation surgery, DBS. And my husband thought about it, and said, well, what's that going to do for me? And how come I get to have it and some other people don't? Well, what he said is because my husband had tremors, and that was one of his main problems, one of his main symptoms, and also his coordination wasn't good, and he was jittery. And these are all features of Parkinson's at different stages. So my husband said, well, what's it going to do for me? And the doctor's down there, his name is Dr. G. We can't pronounce it because it's Greek. It's Dr. Galifianikos or something like that. But we call him Dr. G. He said, well, it's going to turn the clock back 5 years. So where you were 5 years ago, you're going to start there. And you'll get 5 more years of functioning with motor skills. Your hands won't tremble so much. You'll be able to your handwriting will get larger, things like that. And so my husband said, does it hurt? And he said, no. Does it cost money? My husband's well over 65. The Medicare pays for everything. At least it did this past year. And so he said, yes, I want to do it. So they scheduled the surgery for February 14th, an easy date to remember, 2023. And now we're a year and some months past his anniversary date. And true enough, he doesn't have tremor. It's a little, but not enough to bother him. He doesn't have enough tremor that he won't take me out for dinner anymore. Because he was spilling food on himself, and he didn't want to go to dinner. He didn't want to go out. He didn't want to expose himself to embarrassment like that. So we stopped going out to dinner. And he stopped writing checks because his signature got so small. And so I started writing checks, and I liked that part. But in any event, the surgery did help. He had never had a moment of pain. There's no nerves in your brain, turns out. They anesthetize a little part of the skull where they remove it and insert the electrode in where your dopamine is working. And they figure that out using MRIs. Okay? So there's several MRIs that happened before the surgery. And that morning of the surgery, we were at UCSF, and he was all geared up for his, had his gown on and everything. The doctor came in. It was like 5 in the morning. Dr. Starr, it was, the surgeon, not Dr. G. He's the regular neurologist, but Dr. Starr is the surgeon. And he came in and he said, well, Mr. Hatfield, are you ready for surgery? And Jim said, yeah, I am. And he said, well, I have a question to ask you. And Jim said, what's that? He said, do you want to be awake or asleep? Yeah. Well, you want to guess what he said? Awake. He wanted to be awake because it's not painful. And because he was awake, the surgeon could see better what he was doing when he was inserting his what do you call those things? Instruments into his brain and manipulating where this electrode should go to do the most good. So he was awake, but just with a little anesthesia around the removal of the skull part. But he never had any pain after in recovery. He was in the hospital a couple of days. Took him home. He was fine. And it really has helped with his tremors. Now, not everybody is a candidate for DBS because of various reasons. One is the problems that they're having with Parkinson's may not be motor related, because people can have all kinds of different symptoms. You have a sheet of paper on your chair, and on that sheet of paper, there's little pictures. And the pictures help point out what are all the different symptoms you might have with Parkinson's. So maybe you can guess some of those from the pictures. I was a teacher once, sorry. Anybody can guess any of those? I mean, you know some already. Those are gimmies. Tiredness.
Confusion.
Uh-huh.
Pain.
Anything else?
Dizziness.
Because
Snail
blood...
moving slow.
Slow move, the snail, moving slow. Low blood pressure is a feature of Parkinson's. Your blood pressure drops. And so you get dizzy. And then what happens when you're dizzy? You fall. So treating blood pressure is really important. What else is on your sheet that you can find?
Constipation.
Constipation, my favorite topic. It turns out constipation is a red flag for Parkinson's. A big red flag. Who knew? I mean, okay. And also there's another big red flag that's not depicted on here, and that is exposure to the sun. My husband, sorry?
I'm sorry.
Exposure to the sun. Yeah, my husband had a melanoma about 15 years ago. You know, he had a lesion on his skin, and the dermatologist diagnosed it as melanoma. And so he had a major surgery, and he dodged the bullet, and it didn't metastasize. So, but that's another big red flag. So all these things, taken together, I mean, any one of us may have one of these symptoms, right? Or two of them. But most of us don't have them all. And so it's having that pattern or that combination of symptoms altogether is what doctors use to diagnose people with Parkinson's for the most part. When someone comes in and they do a interview with a person and ask questions, and all of these things start coming up in the conversation, fatigue, slowness, dizziness, even eyesight one's eyesight is affected with Parkinson's. My husband had cataract surgery, but it didn't do any good because his ophthalmologist said, "Well, you have Parkinson's, so I can't really do anything for you. Thanks very much." So,
Mary,
yeah.
What's that symbol?
I don't know. I was hoping you could tell me. I was hoping you might.
The very last one. Down
Yeah.
At the bottom. Oh, with the
It looks like it's pressing a buzzer, and it's electrical, huh? I don't know what it is. I only find these things. I don't necessarily know what they are. But I like the pictures because they stick into your mind better than just words. Also, sleep deprivation or sleep disorders are very much a part of Parkinson's. My husband, we don't sleep together anymore, and we haven't for a while. And I think I mentioned sex earlier, but he flails. He doesn't sleep well. He has sleep apnea. He won't use a CPAP, and he never has. And so all these years, he's had problems with sleep, which have contributed to Parkinson's. But in any case, he was diagnosed, and he did have the surgery. There is a DAT scan that's now available to help diagnose Parkinson's. It's an imaging kind of thing, but you don't really need it because it's pretty easy to diagnose it once you have a conversation with a person. Yeah. The weird thing though is when you think about it and you get the diagnosis, you look back and say, oh, all those weirdnesses about me weren't because I was weird, it's because I have Parkinson's. So I married my husband despite his constipation, despite his sleep disorder, despite his poor vision, despite all these little things now all make sense. And so I'm not so mad at him anymore.
It could have just been the result of aging or something else.
Exactly. Exactly. And some of them are a result of just aging. And so it's hard to tease that out. Like, what is just normal aging and what is Parkinson's? Well, age is one factor. But then again, there's early onset Parkinson's that can happen like Michael J. Fox early in his life. So that's not necessarily a gimme for diagnosing Parkinson's.
What about the voice getting quieter?
Yes, you might notice my nice jewelry here. And that's not shown really on this, is it? No, that's an oversight. One of the hallmark features of Parkinson's is a soft voice. And as the disease progresses, the voice gets softer. Because, well, there's a lot of reasons. It doesn't get used as much, and so the muscles get weaker. And sometimes people think that when a person loses muscular strength, it's because Parkinson's has attacked the muscles, but is not true. Parkinson's doesn't bother with the muscles, but it bothers with everything else. And so people stop moving, and so the muscles atrophy from disuse. And it's the same with the voice, vocal cords. And so a lot of times people with Parkinson's don't want to be noticed. They don't want to be in a conversation. They don't want to tell people that they have Parkinson's. So there's an emotional, cognitive part to it too. So over time, people with Parkinson's sometimes they're just not in conversations, or they avoid social situations, or they can't be heard even in the house. I mean, I'm going around the house. I have a 2,300 square foot house. I get my 10,000 miles in, just walking around the house, following him. What did you say? Could you say that again? Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Could you repeat that? What did you say? The dog's following me too. And I have to be careful he doesn't fall on the dog. So, I have a big yellow lab. So, there's all these things going on all the time. So loud is LVST and other kinds of companies publish a program, a speech therapy program that people with Parkinson's absolutely should sign up for, because if you not have a speech problem now, you may later. And once you're signed up for it and in with the PT people and the speech people, then you have a baseline that they can use to tell whether or not you're losing your ability to speak and your volume or not. And if you are, they give you lots of exercises to work on to increase your volume in your voice. Hi. One of the things we do now in the support group, and we're going to get to talking about support groups in a minute, one of the things that we do, I lost my watch, is read. So last month we had a book. We had Cat in the Hat. And we passed it around the circle in our support group, and we had people read the lines in the Cat in the Hat. But we have a big room, and so it's hard to be heard in that room. And so it gives us the opportunity to project our voice and talk with intent, is what you're going to be asked to learn how to do, is talk with intent, walk with intent, move with intent. Tell your brain, I'm going to do this. Because your brain forgets because of those brain cells that are dying off all the time. So you have to sort of circumvent that and be your own best advocate.
Be more mindful.
Exactly. Be more mindful. Exactly. So we do some of that in our group. And today, what did we do, Andrea?
It was a poem,
We read a poem.
popcorn style.
Yeah. Make good friends and keep the old. Some are silver, some are gold. You all know that little poem. And there's more lines to it as things turn out. It's a very nice poem. So, and it's very true, because it does talk about community. So when you go to speech therapy, you'll find that one of the things that the speech therapist can do is help you find the words you've lost. Losing the ability to retrieve words is yet another feature of Parkinson's. There's so many. It's the gift that keeps on taking. So there are techniques and little tricks that you can learn to be able to recover a word in a conversation, so you can't continue a conversation you have with somebody, or you're about to tell somebody something and you can't remember what it was. But there are ways that you can help yourself with those kind of memory problems.
Can you talk about what the surgery helped with and what it didn't help with?
It didn't help with memory, and it does help with tremor, and not so much exactly gait. Gait is what they call, just how you walk, but there's a kind of a shuffling going on, because the feet can't remember where they were, and sometimes there's a freezing in the gait. And so those kinds of things, you may have seen people walking like that. And there are other neurological conditions that can cause that too. The surgery helps with a gait and helps being able to walk more normally, which again helps with preventing falls. Right. So, yeah, but it doesn't help with memory or cognition. And one thing that isn't on this sheet is something called the loss of executive function. What executive function is, as you can imagine from the word executive, this is the part of your brain that tells you what to do. It tells you how to plan things, how to follow through with a plan, how to concentrate on something and finish something, how to make a decision, or to make a decision at all. All of the things that you need to be able to do during the day to have a working household. Remember the keys, remember the grocery list, the many, many, many things that we go through our day, we depend on our executive function. So without that, you rely on your care partner. And I'm my husband's care partner. So, and also his support group is too. So I'm going to change topics a little bit now and talk about those two bits of it. For the two new guys that just came in, we talked about symptoms, a little bit about medication and surgery, and about some of the ways that life changes with a diagnosis of Parkinson's and how you get a diagnosis of Parkinson's. So now we're going to talk a little bit about...
excuse me, Mary.
Yeah.
What medicines is Jim on now?
Well, good question, Fran, thanks. After the surgery, he was hoping that we wouldn't have to take any medicine at all. And they told him beforehand, no, you might have to take some, but not as much. And that's in fact what has happened. So he does take some levodopa carbidopa, which is that medicine that can go past the brain barrier. What is that brain barrier? Blood. Thank you. The blood-brain barrier, and do its job with stimulating dopamine. So he does take some, but it's not so much that it makes him sick. Yeah. So it's helped a lot. Does that answer your question?
Is that all he does? Does he take a stool softener every day? Does he do it?
He does.
Supplements?
He does. Well, I could have brought his list.
It's a lot.
He takes a lot of things. Some of them are supplements and vitamins and stool softener and...
Does he take anything for pain?
No.
Is there pain?
No pain. He doesn't have pain. Some people with Parkinson's do have pain because it causes some cramping sometimes, or rigidity, I should say, in the muscles and in the limbs, and that can be painful. But he's lucky in that regard. He doesn't have pain.
Oh, what about blood pressure? Does he have blood pressure?
He does have, but it's low blood pressure. And so the recipe for that is salt. He gets to eat salty foods. Yes. So salt helps, and other kinds of things, especially, I'm so glad you asked, Fran. It's my favorite prop. Water. My husband never used to drink any water. And he'd go on backpacks and with his sons, and they'd say, Dad, you have to drink water. And he'd say, oh, I'm not thirsty. And back in the day, backpacks had their water bottles in the back. You couldn't get one out. Somebody have to get it out for you, or you have to take your pack off to get to your water. And then they invented camelbacks, so that, so you can just have it like a siphon to your mouth. Even with that, he wouldn't drink water. Does he have kidney stones? Yes.
Oh, no.
To add to everything else. So eventually, he kept having this low blood pressure problem. He'd get dizzy, and he'd have to sit down. And eventually, he'd get tired of that. And so the doctor and the physical therapist said, you need to drink more water, Mr. Hatfield. And so I got this. And I thought, this is really going to take him off. Why, he's going to hate water now. I mean, this is not lovely at all, is it? I filled it up, and every day he drinks the whole thing.
Wow.
Who knew? Who knew he would do that? But he does. Now he's going to be looking for it because I took it and I didn't tell him. What happened to my water?
Special about it?
Sorry?
What's special about that bottle?
It holds 64 ounces of water.
I mean, just measuring worked for him?
I guess so. I don't know why he likes it.
Having it ready.
You don't have to put in any kind of flavoring in the
No,
water?
no. I mean, I went and bought all those things,
Yeah, 'cause
thinking
water's
that
boring.
he would be bored.
Maybe he likes it better than being dizzy all the time.
Exactly. Maybe he likes that, and he doesn't have to take his blood pressure so often. because his blood pressure is staying up now. But it's a good question about medication. He does take a lot of medications, but in terms of the medication for Parkinson's itself, not very much levodopa, carbidopa.
It was a one-time thing, the brain stimulation.
It's there for life. Yeah. And I'll show you too. If you want to see, that battery that he has in his chest has to be charged, like every week.
What battery in his chest?
Right here. He's got a battery in his chest.
You didn't tell us that.
Yes, I did.
No.
It's on tape. It's on tape. He has a battery in his chest. It lives there, and it doesn't hurt him. And when this is beeping, it means that it hasn't found the battery. So when I put it on him, and it finds the battery, it turns off. But of course it won't, because I don't have a battery. But if I did, we'll pretend. So it turns itself off after it's recharged. Yeah, and it takes about a half an hour. But we can't forget to charge him up. So we try to, pick a certain day and a time or an occasion, but sometimes we forget. But not for long, because I can tell, I think you need to charge it up, Jim. Because he might get a little wobbly or, just a little funny. And then the other thing is, this is an amplitude adjuster. Haha. I get to zap him. So this charges it up. This is the charger for it. And the doctor sets a certain amplitude for him. And then, so he's on amplitude, stimulation on. So when it seems like he needs to have more stimulation, which means more dopamine is being. I just press it and it goes. I can raise it. I can raise the amplitude. Of course, I'm in the conversation with the doctor by my health email, and I can just email the doctor any old day and say, "Hey, I think Jim needs more amplitude. This is what I'm seeing. What do you say?" And he says, "Well, you can try it, but if he starts to get dyskinesia, which is feeling like all jittery inside, then back it off." So, but I can talk to the doctor like any old day in San Francisco at UCSF. It's a miracle.
Thing in his chest is communicating with his brain.
It powers what's in his brain. It powers the the electrode in his brain. Yeah, that's what keeps it going.
A lot of sports now.
Does he do a lot of sports?
Can he?
No, he doesn't have the coordination to do the sports.
Swimming, can you swim with all that?
He hates to swim.
Could you swim?
Yeah, but he won't swim. But he does do weights, and he does Stairmaster and treadmill. Exercise is a really, really important thing for treating Parkinson's, and diet. So diet and exercise, aside from medication and surgery, are the kinds of things that can really ease symptoms. The Mediterranean diet, is there anybody that doesn't know what that is? Oh, Ellen, I told you before. The Mediterranean diet, of course, is heavy in fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, and fish, and light, very light, or no, red meat, and whole grains, if you have to have grains. You all know about the blue zones in the world, places in the world where people live long lives and live well, live with health. Well, this necklace that I'm wearing is from my exchange student who lives in Sicily. And his 96-year-old dad still lives alone, drives, and is healthy as a horse, in the blue zone. Of course, there's always exceptions, and I'm not saying that everybody in Sicily is as healthy as my exchange student's grandfather, but apparently enough are that Sicily has been noted as one of the blue zones of the world. So I think they beat the odds there.
And why is it considered a blue zone? What?
Because of the nature of the diet.
The diet?
The diet, yes. Well, and they're relaxed And the wine, of course. No.
Sicily, yeah.
The culture itself. Wine is okay if you have Parkinson's, as long as, you don't have so much of it that you
Makes you more
fall.
dizzy.
Fall.
Makes you more dizzy.
Makes you more dizzy, yeah. And just as an aside, coffee is recommended for people with Parkinson's, and I'm a coffee freak, so that's so good for me. There's a book here I wanted to point out. These books you can look at if you'd like to before you go tonight. This one is Heal Your Gut, Save Your Brain. There's new research that's saying that, we've been hearing a lot about gut health. That's like, the thing now. Yeah. Well, it turns out that what happens in your gut goes into your brain. And so, to make a long story short, a good diet and avoiding pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, and all the toxins that contribute to the cause of Parkinson's in a mighty way can really be a problem. So eating well as we can afford to, with grocery prices, is tough. It's tough, but we do live in a place where there's farmers markets, so we should avail ourselves of that as much as possible. Plus, if you feel better, overall, everybody should have that diet. I'm trying to thought.
Larry, how much of Parkinson's is genetic and how much is it cultural?
See, that's why I brought her here. It changes every day, and it changed today. But from what I've read, the genetic contribution of Parkinson's is about 20 to 30% of people who have Parkinson's because of a genetic marker. So that means the rest of the people, which is most, 70 to 80% of people have Parkinson's because of environmental toxins. And hence the book about eating organic vegetables and fruits. Now, we live in an agricultural area, and so we're exposed to environmental toxins all the time. So is everybody else probably in our country. But in particular, agricultural farming uses a lot of insecticides and herbicides, and there is efforts on the behalf of a lot of people who want to be politically active to deal with our lawmakers and our elected officials to try to reduce the amount of pesticides and herbicides without losing our crops. And so that's the whole organic farming movement, which we all know about and can support, because we've gotten kind of carried away with all these herbicides and pesticides, and they're getting in our bodies. Genetically, then, there was a news story out today that they found the genetic marker for Parkinson's that they can use to diagnose Parkinson's in young people before they've developed symptoms. So this is huge, because if they can find Parkinson's before it's symptomatic, then there's a possibility that they can treat it, come up with better treatments.
And now, how is that done? I know with blood tests, you can find out a lot of stuff with the blood test.
Yep.
How can they find out if you've got the marker, before you have really any symptoms? Or
Boy, I wish I could answer that question.
I can add to that.
Okay.
I was part of a study it's called the Parkinson's Progressive Markers Initiative, PPMI, that UCSF is doing. It's funded by the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And I was able to get in because both my father and my maternal grandmother had Parkinson's. And so I was a good study candidate. So I had the DAT scan, and then the next piece and the next process was the tissue samples, blood work and tissue samples. So they take tissue, they take saliva, and they take spinal fluid. So that's the tissues that they test. Now, I wasn't able to continue going forward because they take the lumbar spinal fluid from L4, L5, where I have an obstruction, and so they wouldn't subject me to having a needle puncture there over the next ever how many years that the test would go on. It would be an annual thing. But, so that's as far as I got, and that was what they were gonna be looking at. And they called those the prodromal factors. And what they were looking at was how much dopamine is in the tissue in my arm, and then they can tell how quickly the synapses, the information's getting passed in your tissue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So research is how they do it. Research.
What would even make you want to, is there anything that would make you think you needed to have this like you said?
Well, I had those two ancestors.
yeah.
I lost my sense of smell more than 10 years ago. Not related to COVID, that's what people always ask me. And maybe I have some of those other,
Symptoms.
I'm still, there's nothing obvious in terms of other. I'm constipated a lot.
So as you get to know what the symptoms are, and you get to wonder,
And you can see them more easily in yourself.
yeah, is this something that I should have checked out? And now we're not there yet, but we're perched, I think, on the promise of being able to do tests to see whether or not Parkinson's is something that you have to worry about. Now,
The brain scan does give them information.
yes, you can get information from that. Also, my husband enrolled in a research study as well. When he was at UCSF, there were a couple of young nurses going around. I thought they were nurses, but they weren't. They were research assistants. And they wanted to know if they could take a blood sample. And so he had the $2,000 blood sample test done for free that day. He said, sure, take my blood. And they enrolled him in a study that eventually, the results eventually came back to him that he doesn't have the gene that causes Parkinson's, and he can let his sons know that they don't have any more likelihood of having Parkinson's than anybody else in the general population. So that's a big relief for them. So the genetic research is starting to become a real help to us in understanding who gets Parkinson's, when, how. It's not there yet, but funding research is really, really important. And Michael J. Fox is, one of the leading places where they do research, and there's many others too.
So are they thinking that if someone has the genetic marker, that's 20 to 30%, then if they go to the 70-80% of being careful of their environment, being careful of what they eat and their exposures, that will help them?
It will. It won't.
Possibly not progress.
Right. Yes. The things that healthy day-to-day habits, and especially diet and exercise, but exercise at a level that makes you exercise, and in all different kinds of exercise, weights, aerobic, stretching, all the different kinds of exercise, but having that being a very big, important part of your life. This LVST Loud also has a LVST Proud, and there's an exercise program where you're stretching and moving. Lotion is motion, is what the physical therapists say. And you know that. You go sit in the car, and when you get out, you can't move. So moving is really, really important. And any kind of exercise that you love to do is the best one, because you'll do it, right? That's the most important part of it. So exercise is critical. Also, there's something called the 5 Pillars of Health, and that's mentioned too in this book. Exercise, community, our people around us, purpose, a reason to get up in the morning, spirituality, and that, however you define that, for me it's swimming laps, because I can tune out the whole world. It's meditation for me. I swim laps, and then I'm fine. Everyone has his or her own way of meditating or finding a calm place in their mind. So all those things will ease symptoms, Pat. They may not cure it, but they're going to make living with Parkinson's a lot better because you're not going to die from Parkinson's. So you just with it. So you want to live well, and you can. You can, especially now. We're getting more and more ways and treatments and ways of using carbidopa, levodopa, if those are the medicines you need that are more not only fast acting but balancing, so that throughout your day you get the same dosage. So they're figuring out different ways of administering the carbidopa, levodopa, so that it's even throughout 24 hours, and you're not going up and down and up and down. Those are all things that it's beyond my scope to talk about, but they're out there. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is caregivers and support groups. I'm a caregiver, and I will be until either I or my husband pass away. And so it's a very, very tough job. As we talked about earlier tonight, it's like full on all the time. I'm walking around picking up things, moving the dog, getting the keys. I'm thinking for him. It's like having one body, one brain and two bodies. Because he's going around undoing things and I'm going around fixing them. The car door's left open, whatever it is. You just get good at that after a while. But it is wearing. It's very wearing. And so caregivers need helpers. On the back table, there's some stuff for you to take when you go tonight. And there's some help in our county with an organization called Redwood Caregivers Resource Center, RCRC. If you're a caregiver, you can have someone come and take your place for a few hours or a week or however long you need, and then you can go and be yourself and do whatever it is you need to do, think whatever it is you need to think about, and not always be on guard or pressed into service every minute of the day. So depending on where your person is in the progression of their disease, earlier on with Parkinson's, people can do mostly everything for themselves. But as things go on, it gets harder. And after my Jim finishes with his 5 years of the clock setbacks that I talked about, he will start to deteriorate more. And so having a respite person help is really, really smart to do and important to figure out how to do it. But this organization, RCRC, call them, be a client, and they're really, really good. They're really helpful.
Free?
Yes, they're free. Yeah. In fact, they're more than free. They give you money. They have grants, and they can pay your caregivers to come in and help relieve you of the burden for a while and get your sanity back. The other thing is support groups. So we started a support group in Ukiah right after my husband was diagnosed. He first thing he said to me was, "Is there a support group?" And it was unusual. And I said, I looked around, I called around and checked around. Nope, no support groups. The hospital didn't have a support group. Nobody knew about any support groups. So I said, well, we'll start one. And so we had about 8 people in our living room for about 6 months. People came, and we just developed a bond and figured out what we wanted to talk about and how to do it and how we'd be with each other, and talked about confidentiality and how we would take care of each other. And then by word of mouth, more and more people found out about it. Well, not today, because we had our support group this morning, but last month we had 38 people at the support group. And there are posters and brochures and things like that. Please take one and put it up somewhere, because trying to get the word out to people that this exists is important, and it's starting to happen. Well, what do we do at the support group? We sit around and talk and share information, wherever what's on our minds. We eat. We always have someone bring food. And then that's where all the talking really happens, is when people get out of their seats and out from the circle and just pair up with somebody they want to talk to or ask more questions. So there's more of that one-to-one talking where it's really comfortable. And then we regroup again, and maybe we do some business things. Like now we have a treasurer, and we have Tai Chi classes. tomorrow morning at 8:30. Be there. We have, what else do we have? We have a support group for caregivers by themselves. So that's me and other people in the group that have people with Parkinson's. We get together and talk about them. And we
The
can.
support group is mixed, caregivers and.
Yes, the main support group is mixed, caregivers and people with Parkinson's, and they want to keep it that way because everybody wants to share that information. They don't want to change. No. So we keep it a
That way
big
you
group.
understand it better.
Yes, yes,
You know.
yes, and you
Someone, as a caregiver, speaking with someone with Parkinson's,
Yeah.
you understand.
yeah, you do, and you get a bond with
Yeah.
people, and you don't want to break apart. It's like breaking a classroom apart at school. That's a terrible thing. So I don't know if we keep growing. I don't know what we're going to do. We'll have to find another facilitator. Bigger room, but we're going to need mics because people talk so loud they can't hear each other. And so then we go and say, okay, talk with intent. Move with intent. So we try to keep it going. But if you want a support group at Willits, you can make one yourself, like I did. You can have a facilitator, can be anybody in your group, can take turns. So you can have a self-led support group.
What did you do when you had to move out of your living room?
We rented a space in the local church. We call it the DMV church because it's right next to DMV. And everybody knows where DMV is. So we rented a room. It's only $50 a month. And people pay $5 when they come in, donate. They don't have to, but most people are happy to give us $5. And now we're making more money. We're making money because we have more people and the rent hasn't gone up. So now we have a treasurer. So we're growing, we're getting stronger. So I wanted to make the point that if you have Parkinson's or you think you might have Parkinson's, it's kind of like getting, don't you hate that? It's kind of like getting a box of chocolates. Because you don't know what you're going to get. So you guys each can have a chocolate and see what you get. Fortunately, these are all good things.
There you go.
Okay, and let me see if there's anything I've forgotten here. Yeah, the end.
Thank you.
So as I was saying at the beginning, Dr. Matheson said, you won't die from Parkinson's, you'll die with Parkinson's. So my advice to you is, if this is an issue for you, do financial planning, do estate planning, consider downsizing, consider assisted living options, and after you've done all of that, live in the moment. Not in the past. There's too many regrets. Not in the future. There's too much worry. But stay in the moment. Live each day as best you can with the 5 pillars of health and good meals and exercise. Listen to your doctor. Drink water. Eat salt. A little bit of wine. A lot of coffee. And keep your tribe around you. Keep your people around you. Don't get disconnected. And make sure that you speak out and speak up to elected officials about this pesticide problem. Maybe we can get a hold on that, at least in our county. Wouldn't that be something? I don't know. But pesticides and herbicides are terrible. Yeah?
I heard on the radio twice now, there's a new study that came out, I think, in the journal Nature, that studied the brains of Parkinson's patients who died versus the other people who died. There's 3 to 5 times more plastic in Parkinson's patients who died.
Wow, I think I'm going to download that app because the Nature magazine is really a good source of information. Thank you for that.
And are there any studies for cures for Parkinson's?
Yeah, well, all the things that they're working on, there's going to be an AI-enhanced deep brain stimulation surgery. So if you want artificial intelligence in your brain, that's coming up.
Is not genetics. Wouldn't it be then, just tying to what you just said, wouldn't it be a really important part of the management, not necessarily the cure, but as a management, a therapeutic approach to really look deeply not into the current diet, but also to help the body to detox from these things that already have been in the body for a long time, plastics, pesticides, and so forth.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a good therapeutic approach?
I would think it would be.
Is that used?
No, but you can invent it.
I don't have to invent it, it is available, but I don't think it's, I wanted to know if this is something, if you talk to your doctor, if that is something the doctor suggests or not.
I've not heard of that as a way to deal with like detoxing from. But yes, you're right, and there are a lot of therapies that aren't mainstream now that are very beneficial. The one that I know is called fascial release therapy, and it's been very helpful to me. But most people don't know what that is. So I understand there's lots of new therapies and approaches that are out there that we don't know about, and certainly the doctors don't know about. But yes, anytime that you're right, I don't know how to promote that. But you left your name on the list, didn't you?
No, but I'll give you my card.
Okay, good. So we could talk about that later and figure out a way to find how to do that, especially for people with young onset Parkinson's, because they have more years to help themselves.
Yeah, I think it's a really important thing to do preventative work. It's like any toxins that we have within our body. You know, people get autoimmune diseases from heavy metals. It's like, for me, I'm 27 and I'm starting to see my own body to, decrease in the way that I was maybe 3 years ago. And that I know that if I don't start taking care of my body now, start doing preventative work, exercising every day, I'm going to start seeing myself start to deteriorate as the years go by. And so it's really important to do the detoxing as a young person because we don't know who's going to get sick.
Develop symptoms. You two need to get together. Absolutely, you're absolutely right.
And it's like that happens overnight too. Like one day you're fine, the next day
You can't get out of bed.
Yeah. I mean, I've noticed that. I mean, I used to be really active yard work. I was always doing yard work. Well, I'm still good at getting out doing yard work because I like it, but I just can't get up and down very easily.
Yeah.
You wouldn't imagine the phone calls I've missed because I can't get up fast enough to get to my phone, right?
Yeah.
It's pathetic.
Well, good health practices are good for everybody all the time, but mostly really important for people with Parkinson's and their caregivers. So whatever advice you give to people with Parkinson's, take for yourself, because you need it too. So, thank you guys for coming out.